So, I don't know if you remember this show called Fear. It was on MTV back in the early 2000s, and the theme song was Voodoo by the band Godsmack. The rules of the game were simple: 2 nights in haunted locations, and you could win $5,000. There are a few guidelines in the game. The first one was that the contestants were sent on dares. They would be sent out to creepy spots in the location and have to complete a task. If they did not complete the task, they would have the option to bail out. However, they were eliminated from the game and they lost any chance of money. If a person bailed out, then another contestant would come in and take their place to complete the dare. All of the dares must be completed by the end of the 2 nights for the contestants still surviving in the house to walk away with $5,000. Locations were very famous haunts across the U.S. For example, there was the Sloss Furnace, a plantation in Louisiana, and a haunted prison. The show was extremely popular. It was one of the highest rated shows on MTV back in 2001 and 2002. It wasn't canceled due to lack of ratings. It was canceled because of the extreme cost of the production of the show. It was expensive to rent out the locations for multiple days, and there was a lot of health and safety risks because they were at dangerous sites, and having round-the-clock staff on locations sank the budget. In 2003, MTV got approved to run a mini-season of 6 episodes set to air around Halloween. I was a huge fan of the show, and when I saw online that they were having this open casting in my city, I knew I had to try. The audition was a breeze. I got along great with the casting agents and the production team. They liked that I was, in their words, Adora creep. A mixture of adorable and creepy. During the auditions, they kept us separate from other potential contestants. This was so when we were placed in the haunt, we had zero knowledge of the people around us. The idea was that we had to trust each other to complete the dares. Sometimes they liked to throw in clashing personalities in the mix for the ratings. They told me they would call if I was cast in the show in about 4 to 6 weeks. By week 6, I gave up hope and started to move on with my life. The following week, I got the call. There was a minor delay in location bookings, so casting got delayed. They wanted me on the show. They told me that they planned to shoot my episode at an old hotel, but the owners sold the property and the new owners did not want the place to be labeled a haunted site. They said the new location was a surprise, and for me to fly to Missouri, and a driver would take me to the location. When I landed, I saw the driver with a big sign that had my name on it. I felt like a famous person. When we got to the car, the driver told me I had to wear a blindfold. They wanted to keep the location top secret to provide ultimate fright. Gotta have those ratings. We must have drove for a few hours. I fell asleep in the back of the van, and I was awakened by a round, nerdy guy. He said it was the production supervisor, and we were at the location. I looked at the building, and I let out a sigh of disappointment. It was just a house on an average-looking street. It wasn't some huge location like the past episodes. I wasn't sure how we would film for 2 nights in this tiny house. The producer, a woman with tight curly hair named Jasmine, came out of the house and smiled at me. She informed me that due to the budget, the location was much smaller. Each episode had only 3 contestants, and would be filmed in 1 night. I could still win $5,000, and she assured me that I was in for an awesome night. She promised that this season would be just as scary as the first 2. She said that the other 2 contestants were already in the house, and she ushered me in. Jasmine escorted me to a back bedroom where I saw another girl and guy. The girl's name was Kim, and her mother was from Korea, and her dad was from Mississippi. She spoke in a thick Southern accent. The guy was named Eric. He was about 6 feet tall, and he had soft brown skin. He told me that his dad was Cree, and he grew up near a reserve. Kim and Eric seemed like nice people. We had a bunch in common. We liked the same music, especially this newish band called Nickelback. Eric was right in saying they would become huge. It's funny that today, nobody admits they like them, but back then, everybody did. Anyway, I'm off topic. The production crew came in and set up our cameras and microphones, and gave us a rundown of the rules and how the show would play out. I won't bore you with the details. The nerdy production guy came in and set up the famous computer used in the show to communicate with us once the sun set. We had from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. to complete 3 dares. Then we were on our own. They had video cameras set up all over the house, and we each had a camera that we wore. The production crew went to the trailer set up in the driveway. Nothing much happened. And then the computer began to beep. Eric clicked on the small video icon. The house you are located in is the Dooley murder house. Between 1956 and 1972, Robert Dooley kidnapped 16 children and locked them in his basement. Nobody knew about the location of these children, as he was able to dig an underground bomb shelter in his basement. Robert Dooley would seek prey on local children and kidnap them. He would lock them in the bunker and then torture and murder the children. He would cook up the body parts and eat them. Sometimes he would skin and tan their flesh to make clothing. Robert Dooley was able to kill and mutilate 16 children before the 17th victim, a young girl named Morgan Appleton, was able to escape when he was sleeping. She ran to the police station and let the police know where she was. The police found the remains of 16 children. Some have said there might have been more, as there are many missing children in the location that have never been located. The police also found the body of Dooley. Once he realized that Morgan escaped, he shot himself in the head. Jesus Christ, gasped Kim. Eric looked over to me with a look of horror on his face. This is messed up. I wanted to be on this show for a fun scare in a location that was creepy, not a freaking murder house where at least 16 children were brutally murdered. Kim nodded. I don't know if I want to do this anymore, she said in a quiet voice. Right after we heard from the computer speaker, "Hey guys, it's Jasmine. I know this location isn't like our past haunts. With a limited budget, we wanted to cram the best bang for our buck. If you want to back out, you can, but you will be leaving empty-handed." Eric looked at us. "I'm doing this show so I can get a car. My uncle has a construction gig for me on the res, but I need a car to get to work. I don't know about you guys, but I'm staying." Kim told us she was on the show to help pay for her master's degree in education, and she needed the cash for tuition. We all agreed to keep on with the filming. I know it was wrong, but we had our reasons. The computer began to beep again, and our first dare came up. "Kim, go down to the basement and open the hatch. Go down the hatch and find the torture room. There you will see a gurney. You must lay on the gurney in complete darkness for 1 hour." Kim sighed and she loaded up her gear. We had walkie-talkies where we would communicate with each other. Eric and I promised her we would be in constant communication with her and would be down in an instant if she got scared. She walked down to the basement and found the hatch. She climbed down it and stumbled down a narrow corridor until she reached a small room with a gurney in the middle. The crew set up cameras so we could keep an eye on her. It wasn't that bad. We could hear a few bumps and bangs, but it wasn't too scary. The hour went by quickly and Kim ran up as soon as her time was up. "It felt like someone was watching me in the room. I felt like I wasn't alone," Kim said, as she was taking off her camera. We joked that there was a camera on her, and she was probably just sensing that. We took a quick break, and then the computer beeped again. "Eric, go down into the bunker and find the kitchen. This is the room where Dooley cooked and tanned the skin of the children. Sit at the butcher block table and use a tape recorder to communicate with Dooley. Ask him why he killed the children, and if he killed more than 16. Stay in this room for 2 hours. Every 30 minutes, review your recording to see if he responds." Eric mumbled to himself, "New car, good job. New car, good job," as he loaded up his gear. Kim gave him a hug, and I promised I would check in on him as often as possible. He went down to the basement, down the hatch, and found the kitchen. "It reeks down here. Kim, why didn't you tell me the smell was so bad?" Kim looked at me with a worried look. "There was no smell when I was down there. It just smelled like dirt." Eric unloaded his gear and began his recording session. The first hour wasn't so bad. No recordings, a few bumps and creaks, but no voices. Eric started to get annoyed and began asking questions in an angry tone. Why did you kill kids? Too weak to go after adults? You had to prey on the vulnerable? You want to feel like a big man? Come for me. As soon as he said that, we could hear a loud hiss come deep from the bunker. Eric looked confused and a little scared. Then his camera cut out and his screams began. We could hear them as clear as day without the microphones. What the? Oh my God. Someone help me. Help. 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 Then silence. Oh my God. Oh my God. Eric, something attacked Eric. Kim screamed. She grabbed her camera and bolted down to the basement. I could see on Kim's camera what she was seeing. When she reached the kitchen, there was Eric, completely skinned, his organs ripped out and his eyeballs removed. Kim began to howl and I began to scream for Jasmine. Then Kim began to scream. I bolted up and began to rush to the basement to save her when Jasmine and the production crew bolted in the room. Jasmine pulled me out of the house and threw me into the trailer. I don't remember much about what happened next. All I can remember is screaming for a long time and the production crew coming up with 2 large black bags. The police came and took statements. Kim and Eric were skinned and disemboweled. All the cameras were no longer working, and they could not recover footage of their deaths. They had no clue of how they were killed. The MTV crew sent me to the hospital for observation. I stayed there for 3 weeks, in shock of what happened. One day, Jasmine came in with a bunch of men in suits. MTV has decided to cease production of Fear Season 3. There will be no episodes aired. We would like you to sign this non-disclosure agreement. Legally, you did not witness the deaths of Kimberly Bowes and Eric Stonefeather. Their families have received a settlement and have also signed non-disclosure agreements. If you sign, you will be given $3 million. You have to agree to never talk about the show for 10 years. In a daze, I signed all the forms. Jasmine gave me an awkward hug and the men in suits shook my hand. The 10 years after the show were a mess. I have nightmares of Kim and Eric. They are poor families. The only reason why I am talking now is I heard that MTV was thinking of relaunching Fear. They think enough time has passed. Listen to me, people. It's not worth the money. On an interesting note, a few years after the filming, I received a package in the mail. Inside of it was a beautiful leather notebook. One side was a soft brown, and the other was a creamy pale color. Inside the book there was a note. With love, E and K.